Hey guys, Joe here. Today we're talking about tier 1 of my tiered gear system, which is clothing. Before we get into it, if you haven't seen the introduction to the series, I recommend you go watch that. It explains what a tiered system is, how it's useful, and some of the things you should keep in mind when you're going through each of these tier videos, such as this one. I will link it in the description below, as well as the little bloopy thing above my head. Now, clothing, why is it so important? Why is it tier 1, the foundation that we're going to build all of our other tiers on top of? Simple. If we don't have pockets, we can't put things in those pockets. If we're uncomfortable, we're going to end up leaving our gear at home instead of having it on us when we need it. So clothing is really, really critical. It determines what you can carry, how you can carry it, where you can carry it, and what you can do with that gear. So you got to really nail down clothing. We got to take a little bit more time and effort than just looking at the weather and looking at what we're going to do. We want to focus on comfort. We want to focus on functionality and also decide, is this a situation where I want to blend in or a situation where I want to stand out? If you understand those four basic things, we can really make our gear work for us and really get a good baseline with our clothing before we start adding on other things like our ADC, emergency bags, and all of that. So let's start with comfort because it's easily the most important thing. You need to be physically comfortable and also psychologically comfortable with the way you feel about yourself, how you look, and how others are going to perceive you. If you're not comfortable in either way, you're going to be subconsciously reaching around, shielding yourself, things like that that really kind of make you stand out in a negative way. And also, if you're miserable, what's the point? We don't want to sacrifice comfort for gear. We want to work our gear around our comfort level. And that starts with making sure physically with our comfort, our clothing fits appropriately, and it fits appropriately with some of the key items that we're going to put inside our clothing, maybe something like a concealed carry firearm or bladed instrument, maybe multi-tools along our belts. We want to make sure that we're comfortable not just standing in front of a mirror. We want to make sure we're comfortable in dynamic movement. You know, it might be fine when you throw your pack on at the start of a trail, you're just standing there, but under movement, under time, that's really going to dig into your shoulders. You want to make sure that everything's comfortable in use, not just when it's sitting on the floor and you're not carrying it, or when you start off on a trail or something. So make sure your clothing fits appropriately. It fits appropriately with that gear on you. It fits appropriately with that gear on you in motion. And that's a really great way to make sure we're keeping ourselves physically comfortable. Just that little step, making sure everything fits. Now, if you're someone who's smaller like I used to be, the greatest way to make sure things fit, even though people don't really put out clothing your size, is to go to a tailor. It can be a little expensive at first, but the gear will last longer because it's not out blowing the wind, snagging on stuff because you're so small. And it's going to be something you're going to want to carry and take care of. And so you're not going to be throwing it around because this is custom tailored gear, clothing that you're really going to enjoy. So you're going to care about it a little bit more. Now, unfortunately for larger people, a tailor isn't as easy of an answer. You can take material off a garment, but you can't really easily put it on. You can't always let out a garment unless it's designed that way. Like certain clothing, like suits and whatnot, are somewhat designed. A t-shirt usually isn't designed to be let out. So for larger folks, you're really going to have to do more work on searching around for big and tall stores, you know, curvy girl stores and things like that. And sometimes, you know, if you're really big, like say Shaq, you're going to have to get custom made shoes, custom made clothing. You're really going to be spending big dollars and stuff. It's just kind of the unfortunate way that the industry is in the fashion industry, clothing industry, but it is getting better. There's more, you know, big curvy girl stores open. There's more big and tall stores opening. Clothing's getting a little bit more affordable than it used to be for people who are really on the bigger size. So just keep looking around and don't get discouraged. But making sure your clothing fits is really, really important. Now, going off of making sure you're comfortable physically, we also want to be comfortable with our image, the way we present ourselves to others, how others see us. There are times in a civilized society where we have to follow dress codes and rules and have to care about what other people think. But we want to make sure that we're not putting that above how we feel about ourselves. Nothing is worth getting depressed over, self-conscious over, you know, developing eating disorders over and whatnot. We care most about what we think about ourselves, how we're comfortable. If we want to expose more skin, we're going to do it. If we want to cover it up and be more modest, we're going to do it. We don't care what society wants, what society thinks. We're here to carry gear, to be functional, to be utilitarian. We're here to be prepared. We're not here to look a certain way for others. We care about what we think. So be comfortable in your own skin. Understand that because we're carrying more gear, we're being more prepared. Certain people are going to look at us as weirdos. You know, you're the person carrying a bag around and no one else is. You're going to stand out. They're going to, oh, you know, there's the crazy person that believes in zombie apocalypses, whether you do or don't, if you talk about preparedness. It's just a stigma that won't go away. You just got to accept it, be comfortable, and move forward. If you're too insecure to carry your gear, it kind of defeats the point of having a gear system. You're just going to be wasting money that's going to sit around collecting dust. That's not what we want to do. So just be comfortable psychologically, mentally, emotionally, as well as physically with good fitting clothing. Moving on to functionality, now that we've got good fitting clothing, we kind of want to make sure it's made out of the right materials for what we're doing. Take 5-10 minutes to research a specific material that a garment's made out of, and it can tell you whether it's overpriced, whether it's going to work for your activity. Maybe it's going to be too stiff for something, too hot, too cold. Maybe it might retain moisture too much. There's lots of issues, like say with Gore-Tex, it's a breathable, waterproof layer, but it's not breathable in the way a lot of people think, and it leads to a lot of people accidentally getting trench foot from Gore-Tex boots. A little bit of education can save those people from doing that. They just didn't because they believed the marketing. So make sure you're doing your research on materials to help make sure you're getting properly functional clothing for your lifestyle and activity you're doing. And also another way to make things functional when it comes to a gear system, just make sure you have pockets. I say jeans are perfectly fine, 2 front pockets, 2 back pockets, and that 1 small 5th pocket. That's more than enough, my guys. You do not need tactical pants where you have 8-10 pockets. That's encouraging you to load up your pants with more crap than you really need. We'll talk about the stuff you should carry on your body in the next video for Tier 2 on-body EDC, but most of it can go off-body, which is Tier 3 off-body EDC. So don't just try to load up your pants because you have a million pockets, my dudes out there. Now with my ladies, they have kind of another issue. There's not enough pockets, or their pockets don't exist at all. Or they have like what looks like a pocket, but it's actually sewed up and you can't use it. The women's fashion industry favors purses and bags, and they encourage the clothing industry to really kind of screw women on pockets so that they're encouraging them to buy all the bags and all the fancy accessories that are expensive. It's a monetary thing. It's really stupid. It's starting to change a little bit. We're seeing more women's clothing brand actually put on pockets because women are just so frustrated about it, and they're finally speaking up about it in the fashion industry. That's a good thing. We want our ladies to have pockets too, but if for whatever reason you can't find something that fits and that's comfortable and has pockets, and a tailor can't fix that for you, even though they should be able to very easily, just wear men's pants. It's not going to fit the same way. Men's clothing is cut differently from female clothing, but at least with men's clothing, the sizes are more consistent. A 33, 34 pant is going to be the same just about everywhere with only 1 to 2 inches of variation, whereas a women's 16 in one store versus another store could be 4 to 6 inches different. Women's sizes vary so greatly. So men's clothing is kind of a safer bet if you want consistency, utilitarianism, and pockets. You just might need to get it taken in a little bit to fit around your curves more flatteringly. Men's clothing is more draping, and you might want that if you're doing something like concealed carry as a lady versus women's shirts, which are typically more hugging. So that's just something to consider. Women, don't be afraid to try men's clothing. Moving off of that with the functionality and making sure the materials work and making sure you have pockets, being able to carry your gear, another way to be functional is to take the items you already carry and just modify them a little bit so that they're multi-purpose. For example, I'm wearing this hat here. This is a fashionable item, but also a useful item. I can block out the sun with this. I can show people I'm a really cool weeb, anime fan. This is from Attack on Titan Scout Corps. But it's not just a hat. It is something for safety. What was that? A normal hat shouldn't be able to do that, right? I have an Ergodyne Bump Cap insert on the inside of my hat. So this isn't just a hat that's cool and shades my eyes. It can also protect my head a little bit. A bump cap is meant to protect you from bumps, bruises, and scrapes. Say you're in a confined space, you're working on a vehicle, you're in a really old home that was built for a much shorter generation, like my grandparents' homes originally. You're going to be bashing your head on everything. It can protect you from that. Let's say you're at a party and things get a little rowdy, beer cans start flying. You're going to be perfectly fine, not get accidentally knocked out. Maybe you're at a social event, like a protest, as is your right as an American, or wherever, and you're doing something social and things get rowdy, get rioty, get violent, as is happening a lot around the world. This can help protect you a little bit. This isn't going to stop a spike from coming at you or stop a baseball bat, but, small things flying through the air, just pegging you in the head or running into a wall because you got shoved, this will do enough to protect you from that. So just a little bit of effort, a couple dollars, this is like a $5 insert. I took a fashionable item that helps block the sun and got a safety item out of that. I modified it for extra function. So it's just simple, easy little mods like that. You can apply that to a lot of things that you carry with you. In certain places, unfortunately, gun crime is becoming more of an issue, especially inner cities. Gang violence is very prevalent nowadays. They're just kind of off the hook Lots of mass shootings and crime increases around the world, not just in the United States. Putting a simple plate in your backpack or your EDC bag, or maybe wearing a slim body bulletproof vest in certain kind of situations. It used to be paranoid, but it really isn't anymore. That might be a way to kind of modify your clothing for extra functionality. Unfortunately, here in New York State, because they're tyrannical, they banned body armor of all kinds, so we don't get that option here. But your safety is your safety. You choose what to do with that. I can't advocate illegal behavior, but do what you need to do. Now, on top of that, you can carry items that are just multifunctional from the beginning without modifications. For example, a buff instead of a bandana. I am mostly a bandana fan, but a buff can do a little bit more. You can wrap it around your wrist, and it can be a sweat wipe like a bandana. You can wrap it around your face, but you can also turn this into kind of a hat. You can use it to conceal your privacy very, very well. I'm going to look like a doofus doing this, but you can essentially make a ninja mask if you're going to be at any of these social events, especially under an oppressive regime like China, North Korea, Russia, New York State, where they use technology to scan everyone's faces from security footage and social media footage to find who was there and persecute them illegally, unconstitutionally in our case, for participating in peaceful protest, as is our right. You can just take something like this, and now a lot of people think, oh, just do that. No, they can actually identify you from your ears and other things like that in some of these places if they really want to. So what we're going to do with this is take it up like so. You want to really kind of hug your face kind of like a babushka. And now we're going to go Beverly Hills Ninja with it. We're going to bring it up over our face like so. This covers our whole head, so they can't use other identifiers, other biometric data. Put on a hat, put on sunglasses. They can't identify you from the footage. You might be able to do gait patterns and size ratios and stuff like that, but that's way harder to specifically identify a person from that. So if you're in a really repressive area, somewhere like, maybe you're visiting North Korea somehow or going to China or anything like that, something as simple as this might be good to have instead of something like a balaclava or like something I have somewhere else in my pocket, a mask like this for privacy. Something like this might be better, because if you do get stopped by the authorities in these oppressive areas, they may go, oh, why are you wearing this mask? Why do you have this balaclava? Clearly you're up to no good because you're going to try to hide your identity. Something like this might pass under the radar as a scrunchie, as a sweat wipe, not as an identity protecting tool. So this is especially important if you're going to be traveling a little bit more than other masks. I think this might be a good idea, just with everything going on in the world. These were just some ideas about how you can modify what you're wearing to be more functional, whether it's just modifying it specifically or carrying something that is inherently multi-use. Think of things that way. This is all about the mindset. And so while I will link to these kind of things, just think about your gear, your clothing, and what can I do to make this do more than what it's already doing? What can I do to help this be a better safety feature in these more violent, unrestful times? And that'll really allow you to expand what you're doing and let your clothing do more work for you instead of just being a fashion piece. Now, going on to that, we also have to kind of touch on, do we want to be blending in and kind of fitting in with the local culture, or do we want to really be standing out? There's a lot of people that just say, oh, you need to do blend in, be the gray man, always 24/7. That's not always the case. There are times where emergencies happen, you want to stand out, you want to be rescued. There are times to say, hey, maybe we're trying to attract someone's attention because we're into them. We want to hook up and stuff. You want to stand out. You don't want to be that weird sulking person in the corner and being like, oh, I'm a tactical ninja. No one can see me. No, you're not going to attract anyone like that. It's just really kind of creepy, to be honest. So there are times where we want to stand out for positive reasons, times we want to stand out to be rescued. It's not all cut and dry, always be concealed, always be gray man all the time. So understand that, all of your harsh weather gear, your snow gear, your rain gear, you don't necessarily want that all to be like dark military colors or black. Maybe you want to consider putting it in bright yellow, orange, red, because during inclement weather, that's when we're most likely to need rescue, need help, want to be visible on the side of the road. That's something I have to start working on because all my gears like OD green and black and digital tiger stripe, which is horrible for visibility in urban environments. That's part of why it was discontinued. People were almost getting hit by vehicles. So that's something I personally have to work on. Everyone has something we can do better. That's my area. And that's why I'm kind of suggesting it to you, because I've learned that's a hole in my gear system specifically, is I don't have enough brightly colored gear to stand out. Now, for situations where we want to blend in, it's usually not, super critical life and death stuff. If you really want to blend into a subculture, just look how everyone else looks, act like you belong there, be confident, and you'll blend in just fine. Talk to people, make relationships, network, and that's blending in. It really isn't some super tactical secret spycraft level thing like a lot of people will kind of pretend to do when it comes to gray man nonsense. Some go so far as to literally wear all wolf gray or mass gray, urban gray. You stand out like a sore thumb. Everyone can always tell that you're the tactical guy trying not to look tactical. It's very obvious when you do that. You know, there's situations where wearing a bright pink shirt and flip-flops is going to blend in way better than any of that stuff. So you really got to learn the subculture or culture you're trying to blend in with, and just be as the Romans are. You know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and just try to act like you belong there. Be confident, be secure in yourself, and by making friends and networking, you're also helping blend in by looking more like a local. You know, you're talking to people and stuff. You're not the lone wolf that's cut off from everyone. That's really going to stand out as probably not belonging there. There's other situations, though, where blending in can be life or death, especially if you're traveling to certain oppressive countries. If you're in the Middle East or parts of Africa, it can be, you know, literally fatal for you to stand out, especially as an American. So you want to think not just about the culture, but also the small things. You know, like me wearing earrings right now. There are certain cultures in the world that will see me wearing earrings and go, well, you must be homosexual. We hate homosexuals. And then beat me in the street. Unfortunately, there are still disgusting pockets of the world that are so violently, pathetically homophobic that they kill people. And something as simple as me wearing these earrings might lump me into that group, even though I'm heterosexual. Now, it's never okay to abuse anyone, hurt anyone for sexual preferences. But that's just something you need to think about is, could you be mistaken for a group that's really persecuted against in this area? Something as simple as earrings that you might not think to take out, that could get you seriously hurt if you're visiting high conflict, very weirdly cultured areas. Or something like this necklace. This is a Celtic cross. I wear it for ethnic reasons, not for religious reasons. I am not Christian, but if I forget to take this off, because it's something that's very important to me, I wear it, I often forget I'm wearing it. Well, if I go to certain countries that are more Muslim or certain ways, I could get beaten to death in the street just for wearing this cross. You know, anti-Christian places still exist today that are very violent. There's just the same thing with Jewish symbology, Muslim symbology, Buddhist symbology. There are places where atheists and agnostics get the crap kicked out of them. You got to think about all these things and how they can be identifiers in these cultures. That's where we start needing to think more on the tactical side of things, because it does become life or death. Just simple things. You really got to think about the details if you're going to be traveling. But if in your everyday life, blending in really isn't that big of a deal. But again, also remember, there are times where we don't want to blend in for security purposes, safety purposes, and also romantic purposes. But with that said, these are just kind of the baseline things you should think about. It's really not that complicated. A little bit of effort, a little bit of thought, and time can really help your clothing work for you. And if we really nail clothing, it makes all the other tiers we're going to talk about so much easier. So make sure your clothing is comfortable. It fits right. You feel right wearing it. Make sure it's functional. You got enough pockets to carry what you need, but not too much to where you're going to overfill them. Make sure it's made out of the right materials. And also understand that there are times to blend in, times to stand out. Have clothing and gear that's enabling you to do both, because there are situations where you might need to switch from one to the other in the same event. Be prepared, be ready. That's the whole point of carrying gear. This is just to get you thinking. And now in the next tier, tier 2, we're going to talk about on-body EDC, the stuff that's going to go in our pockets, the mission critical items that I think should always be directly with you, not in a bag, not in a car, or chilling at home. So until then, stay safe, stay informed, tell someone you love them. The world's kind of a crazy place right now. A little bit of positivity can go a long way. We need all the positivity we can get to get society back on track. So see you then. Toodles.